to be a leader, you have to demonstrate you're prepared to go. You're not just prepared to scream and shout, you're prepared to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions also.
Thank you for tuning into the show. Whether you are watching this on martialartsmedia.com or on YouTube, or listening while on the move on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher, this is the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. My name is George Fourie, and on this show we interview top martial arts school owners, share success stories, share martial arts stories from great martial arts experts, and then we talk about lead generation and marketing strategies in between. So a quick heads up before we jump into the show. I just wanted to make sure that you are already part of our Martial Arts Media business community. It is our free Facebook group where we hang out every day. We talk about lead generation, marketing, and all things martial arts. You can jump in by either clicking a link close to this video or go to martialartsmedia.group. So not martialartsmedia.com, just martialartsmedia.group. That'll take you there. That's the best place for you to go after the show. We are in there every day, and there's a bunch of free resources that we have already uploaded into the group. Things about how to attract the right students, how to increase your sign-up base, how to retain more members, etc. So jump into the show. I will catch you in the group once the show is done. Enjoy. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, awesome, Ben. So at what point did you start look at opening a school, and how did you end up in Perth?
I started coaching about 2007. I really enjoyed coaching. I kind of realized that I was never going to be a world champion, but I do firmly believe I could train a world champion. So that was sort of my focus, sort of switched from being a fighter to training fighters. And I made the hard decision to quit competing myself in MMA anyway. Sorry, I've got a fly harassing me at the moment. I could Mr. Miyagi it with some chopsticks, but so I made the call that I was going to cease my fighting career. I couldn't do both. If I wanted to focus on coaching, I had to fully focus on coaching. So I started to coach full time. I was actually in the fire service at the time and decided to leave the fire service to pursue MMA as a full-time career. So that happened in 2010. So I was coaching full-time and working as a firefighter full-time. It's the beauty of the shift system there that could make that work. And then I put the firefighting away to pursue a career in what I love doing, which was teaching martial arts, MMA in particular. So yeah, I was just coaching, and then the opportunity to come to Perth came up at the right time in my life. I was just ready to make the move, and there was a few circumstances at home that made it a good time for me to jet off to the other side of the world. So I did that. We opened an MMA clinic here, and I was just working as the head coach. And then some things changed, and I ended up running the gym. And then 8 years later, the gym's rebranded, and I'm sort of sitting there as my own boss with my own school, and pretty happy with that.
Sounds good. I do want to ask you just a question to backtrack. You said it was a hard choice to move from being the fighter to being the coach. What was sort of the hardest part about it? Was it, you mentioned that juggling the two things at once, being the coach and the fighter. Was that the hardest part, or was it sort of more of giving up on a dream that's the path that you wanted to take?
No, when I made the call, I realized that the dream is to be a world champion as a fighter, I think. And it's a hard sport, MMA. It's brutal. And I realized that wasn't necessarily a possibility. So that wasn't the hard part. The hard part is I love competing. I love training. I love not having responsibility when I go in the gym. You know, it's nice just to be able to go and get your hands dirty and get out. So then I had to make that call that now I was going to become as a coach, you become more than just teaching people technique. You become a life coach sort of thing for your students. They become family. It's such a strange sport in that you beat the living daylights out of each other. So the ego can go straight away because you know the pecking order. Like, you know who can win and who can lose. So you don't need to worry about that stuff anymore. And your sort of leave all your ego, just it doesn't need to exist anymore. The roles are well defined within the gym. Everyone knows how everything stands, and in coaching you have to take your respect in a different way. You know, I'm 40 years old, my students are half my age. I have to understand that I can't necessarily compete with them anymore. but I have to then guide them in the right direction. So it's a hard choice when I'm a very competitive person. So I had to make the decision to step away from competition and prepare others for competition. And to fill that hole, I do stupid things like ultra marathons and like just to test myself mentally, because fighting for me is all about the overcoming mental barriers and finding comfort in discomfort. So yeah, I did 2 years or 3 years ago, I did 8 weeks training and did 65-kilometer run. And that put me in that place, which was what I just wanted to test myself to see if I still had the mettle that when the going got tough, would the tough get going, or would I crack on and make it to the end, or would I quit? That's what I wanted to find out. And I constantly look for different ways to test myself in that regard. So I found like a home for my competitiveness elsewhere. I took up rugby so I could turn up on a weekend and be a part of a team, but not have to lead it, and just get my hands dirty and get stuck in. And so I found ways in that way to manage that competitive spirit and focus all my energies during the week on my guys and making them the best they can be.
Got it. Yeah, it's such a metaphor for life, right? And that's where martial arts just is a real test to life, because putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions. Well, there's no. I don't think there's a much harder place to do it than get in a cage or to be in martial arts or have that contact where it can kind of feel like life or death. Yeah,
exactly. And we're only ever a split second away from absolute disaster, things we do, punching each other, twisting each other into uncomfortable positions and stuff like that. So it takes a great amount of trust and faith in your training partners, which is what bonds us so closely together. I think is, when someone has you in a choke in a real life situation, if they don't let go, you run out of oxygen and you die. If someone has you in an arm bar, your arm's going to snap if they don't stop when you ask them to stop. That mutual respect and that mutual feeling of trust builds really strong bonds with your students. And I lead from the front, so I do everything the guys do pretty much, short of stepping into the cage. I still spar, I still do the fitness sessions with them, I still do everything that I can to prove that I'm not just screaming and shouting, I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is sometimes. I think that's important too, is to be a leader. You have to demonstrate you're prepared to go. You're not just prepared to scream and shout, you're prepared to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions also.
Yeah, totally. Let's just shift gears towards the business, right? So you're running a successful school. Just for context, so what styles? So you've got MMA. What else do you guys do?
We do all the disciplines individually. So we have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, freestyle wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, striking, which is more like kickboxing style, and then the MMA stuff as well, plus strength and conditioning on top of that. So we run all the disciplines that you'd need to compete in MMA, and then my job is to put them all together. That's where MMA fighters are made, is not in the individual arts themselves, but in transitioning those arts together.
Awesome. So, and I'm curious, what is your process for doing that?
You have to take the best out of each art for mixed martial arts. Like for instance, in jiu-jitsu, you might be a guard player. You might lay on your back with the other person on top of you. While there's no strikes coming down, guard is a pretty safe position. When someone can punch or elbow you in the face, it becomes a completely different story. So it's working out, taking the good from all the different arts and then putting them together in a program that works best for mixed martial arts in itself. But the key is transitioning them. So how do you get from boxing to get someone on the ground? How do you work those transitions? So it's fusing the transitions in. So my mentor is a guy called Mark Fourie. He was Matt Hughes' coach, Robbie Lawler's coach. He's cornered 137 UFC fights or something like that. And he uses the hand as the metaphor for coaching MMA. So if these are the arts, that's easy to act. This is BJJ, this is wrestling, this is boxing, this is Muay Thai or striking, whatever. It's these parts, the parts that join the hands together. That's what we need to get people good at. So you might have good BJJ and good wrestling, but how do we create the transition to that? You might have good striking and good jiu-jitsu, but if you can't wrestle, you're not going to dictate where the fight goes. So it's working on the joining factors. So for me, that's the key. Yeah,
perfect. The lube that makes it flow. Probably not Correct. The best analogy, but yeah.
But yeah, exactly. So it's like what makes everything flow together as one, as opposed to being 4 different martial arts that you're good at. They all need to work in synergy with each other.
So that's now the gym, and then so you've got the fighters, and now you've got fighters competing, and you've created Eternal MMA. So quick, just how did we actually transition into that, and then we can talk a bit more about what's going on with the fight promotions.
Yeah, I actually can't take the credit for creating Eternal MMA. I have a business partner on the Gold Coast, Cam O'Neill. He formed Eternal in 2012, and I actually used to just put fighters on it. So he flew some of my guys over to the Gold Coast. He's from the UK as well. So we sort of knew a few people, the same people come up the same sort of time in the same scene. So we got on really well straight away. And he started using my fighters on all of his shows. In 2015, we decided to bring a show to Perth, and that's where I sort of came on board as a co-promoter and a co-owner of the business. And that's when we started expanding from the Gold Coast into Perth. I helped sort of develop the promotion on this side of the country. And then a couple of years ago, we decided we'd move into other states. So we did Adelaide. I think we've done 3 shows in Adelaide, and we just did our debut in Melbourne last weekend before the UFC 243 card in conjunction with the UFC. So we worked together closely with them on that. So yeah, that's how it sort of came about. I was a reluctant promoter. I didn't really want to do it. I had enough stuff going on, but Cam's very convincing, and here we are.
Now that's quite the UFC. How did the UFC come about?
We sort of asked some questions, and we knew they were looking for a partner in Australia, and I guess we stated our case. There was a few other promotions looking for the same deal, but I think what makes Eternal, we went into quite some depth in our pitch, more than just being on UFC Fight Pass and providing them a broadcast. We want to help develop the region, so we want to work in conjunction with them to develop fighters to give them, so to become a pathway to the UFC, so we can blood all the fighters, get them their experience, test them out, and then when the UFC is ready to pick the ones that they want, then they can come to the promotion and they'll have a good idea of who they're looking at. Also, if they have fighters that are looking at, we can find them fights for them and stuff like that. So
I guess just an important step back is, how did you actually make the connection? How did it, before you actually got to give your pitch?
You just hear things in the industry, and we heard that they were looking for a partner in Australia, and it's quite easy to get hold of someone's email address these days, and there you go. You just we just fired off emails and then started a more in-depth conversation. I know a few of these people from dealing with them with other things as well, so yeah, it's just a case of being diligent, sort of being in the right place at the right time, having a good product, and delivering on what you say you're going to deliver on. I think that's the key to business, really, in general, is having a good product and doing what you say you're going to do, which I find is the biggest problem in business these days. I don't think many people follow through on their promises, but I live by that. If I say I'm going to do something, I will do it, and do it well.
Yeah, totally. I've got a question on that. So you get to do your pitch, and what I can hear is well, obviously you want to deliver on the promise, but it sounds like you really framed it in a way of, it's not just what are we going to get out of the, being promoted through UFC Fight Pass, but really what are they going to get out of it? How can you help develop them? But can you elaborate a bit more on the pitch and how you went about all that?
Yeah. So we put a pitch together. Obviously, we provide a lot of content. UFC Fight Pass, for those that don't know what it is the UFC's streaming platform. So it's a digital streaming web-based channel that has 500,000 subscribers in 200 countries across the world. And obviously, to service those guys, they need content. So not only can we offer quality content 10 times a year, we can also offer our knowledge of the region. They need talent to come through to grow in each region. So we can offer them fighters with a following, fighters with the skills and qualities that they require to suit their brand. Being the brand leader, they need the best talent, and I believe we have the best talent, most of the best talent in the country fighting for us. I mean, that's what we can offer to them, as well as sort of being able to give them inside information on the scene in the country as a whole. It's a very mutual relationship. Obviously, we give them all our content, and in return, we get exposure. That's the nuts and bolts of it, but then behind the scenes, there's a lot more to it than that.
That's great. So what does that mean for the fighters? Like, how does the exposure work? Is it just that it's being promoted on the platform, or is there more to it? Not that that's not enough, but...
Yeah, there's definitely more to it. So, for example, we debuted on Fight Pass in Melbourne just before UFC 243. So we did the Friday night, and then 243 went on the Sunday morning. But obviously, a lot of the UFC top brass were in attendance. So the matchmaker from the UFC was in the crowd that day. So there's no better audition than for you to go out and apply your trade in front of the guy that you want to impress live.
Totally.
So things like that, we aim to work with the UFC on dates. If they have a show in Australia, we aim to sort of we created a mini fight week last week. So our show, we had weigh-ins Thursday, the show Friday, they had weigh-ins Saturday, and the show Sunday. So Thursday through Sunday, there was MMA every day in Melbourne. Whereas in UFC Fight Week in Vegas, obviously they have these big expos and stuff like that. So it was like a really big weekend for Australian MMA. And we can do stuff like that every time that they come to the region. That's one benefit, is being able to display your skills in front of the people that you're trying to impress, rather than sending them an email with a highlight reel. Doesn't have quite the same effect. They're also readily available on that platform. So if we send a matchmaker a fighter's name, all he has to do is go on Fight Pass and look at that fighter direct through their own TV channel. So, but then also inside information. So if they have any questions or anything like that, or they want some guidance on how this guy's stacking up or whatever, then we can provide that too. But also we're providing regular, if an event does 3 shows a year and you fight on that event, you might not get on all 3 shows, so you might only get 2 fights a year. We're providing an opportunity to fight on 10 different shows a year. Most fighters want to fight 3 or 4 times a year. So we can definitely do that for pretty much all our fighters on the frequency that we put shows forward.
Perfect. Awesome opportunity for any fighter, obviously, to, as you say, direct, but then just being featured on the show, even if, you don't have the promoters there. What better thing to put on your portfolio? Just check my fight on UFC Fight Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it provides a bit of a pathway. It's like, I can fight on this show. I know that it's on the UFC, so there's more chance of us then being selected if we're the best in the country. What we're aiming to do is, if you're the best in the country and you own an Eternal Championship, then you should be sort of next in the pecking order to be moved on into the UFC. That's what we're looking at. Obviously, it's early days, and we're yet to sort of prove that method to anyone, but hopefully next year. We signed a multi-fight deal for 2020. They'll take 10 shows from us, whereas this year was a bit unorthodox. They wouldn't normally sign a promotion last quarter, but we managed to get it over the line, and they're taking 2 of our 3 remaining events this year. Because of scheduling, they couldn't take the last one. But in 2020, all our events will be live on UFC Fight Pass. So that will give the fighters then the platform on every show to really push and make a run for the big show.
Now, you mentioned to me earlier, Ben, that you guys have done this all from self-funded, 100%.
Yes.
You're still running with no sponsors. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah. I sort of spoke to you briefly before, but I've transitioned from being a fighter to being a coach to being a gym owner. None of it was pre-orchestrated or planned. I've never claimed before the last few years to be a businessman. Like, I just was a guy that had a passion for the sport and wanted to grow it, and it's just organically sort of turned out the way it's turned out. So now we're at the pointy end, and it's that corporate sort of driving sponsorship and stuff like that. It's an area where I don't have expertise, and I've always been a guy that I stay in my lane. If I know about it, I'll do it, and if I don't know about it, I'll try and get someone else to do it for me. And obviously pay someone. I'd much rather pay someone to do something properly than make a botched job of it myself, trying to save a few dollars. So we have some minor sponsors, a couple of guys, they buy tables at the show and stuff like that, but yeah, nothing on a major level that perhaps some of our competitors might have.
Totally. So if we're having that conversation, like, let's say I have a product that could be mutually beneficial to what you guys are doing, and obviously knowing that the exposure is next level for what you're getting, through UFC Fight Pass and so forth. Who do you think would be an ideal sponsor, and how could they benefit? potentially from?
I think you'd be surprised as to who could be a sponsor for a mixed martial arts event with big viewership, because you think about the demographic that is, one, into the sport, and two, attending and watching the sport. It's mostly a male, sort of 17 to 45 disposable income demographic. So, it's a good demographic for most companies, clothing, nutrition, tattoos, betting, all that kind of stuff, all fit into the sort of the demographic that we service. So they're the kind of people that we're looking to link up. We did some stuff with Wimp to Warrior, which is a show that puts on like 20-week programs in gyms around the world. So we're working with them next year. So we're going to be partnering up with them. So that's really exciting for 2020. Any company that wants to have a chance to put themselves in front of that demographic would be a good fit for us. And also, we have assets. We have these champion people. We have great athletes who are very humble, and we can come to companies and train their staff. We can do talks. We can set up very bespoke packages. There's plenty we have to offer with the assets that we have within the company, not just inside of viewership and advertising, sort of team building, personal development. You could learn a lot from a young MMA fighter who's disciplined and sacrificed a lot to get to where they've gotten to. And also from people within the company like myself and Cam, who are kind of self-made business people that have reached quite high with sort of limited funds and experience, So there's plenty of areas there to explore. It's just a case of, like anything, it's a skill that we need to learn and get better at. I probably need to take some coaching or something like that. I mean, obviously, if you want to get better at something, you find someone who's good at it and you learn from them. So that's probably what we need to do. It's just, we're very time poor. Like I run 2 businesses and I'm just about to open a 3rd. I have a young family that I don't see very much, obviously. So yeah, the time to go and do a course or go and learn from someone is not really there at the moment. But if sacrifices need to be made, then they'll have to be made at some stage. So yeah, I guess it's all part of the learning experience.
For sure. So, and what about if I'm a martial arts school owner and I've got fighters and so forth, how would that benefit getting on board with you guys with Eternal MMA?
Well, we can advertise your school at our events, and your customers are sitting in our audience, and are watching our show on TV. So that you're putting your case. So we have had people in the past put adverts on the big screen in the venue of their gym, and we can put flyers. Or what it is if you have a brand, I don't know the exact numbers, but it needs to be seen X amount of times before it sets in someone's head, and then when they're looking for that service, your name will be the one that they so it's like subliminal advertising, really, putting yourself in front of someone enough times for them to, when they do eventually require your service, you'll be the name they type into Google, so that is really where we can assist gyms. And also we can obviously help getting their fighters fights, because to service I have a huge fight team. To service them, having the promotion is great because I can get them all fights. Whereas if you don't have necessarily the connections or know the people to talk to, then you might struggle to match your guys up regularly, which might lead them to getting disgruntled and going somewhere else where they might get better opportunities.
Yeah, totally. On the marketing side, like in our group, our partners group, where we work with school owners on the marketing side, basically classified as a touch point. I mean, there's various tests, 6 to 8 interactions. It could be typical before somebody reaches out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other tests that stretch up to 43 days and, all fancy stuff. But I mean, for any school owner, you can think of 6 to 8 interactions with your brand before somebody says, hey, let's have this conversation. So that is a perfect thing for a good touch point. Sometimes the touch point, especially if it's, massive exposure, like, you're doing something on UFC Fight Pass, it could be promoting the actual promotion sometimes has value. What I mean by that is, nowadays when people have a article in the newspaper, it's kind of pointless, this big newspaper, because nobody hears about it. But somehow it's got some credibility. So your marketing referencing that you were featured in this thing is sometimes more valuable. Just like I see when, school owners we've worked with that get featured on Sunrise or, morning shows.
Yeah.
Nobody sees the morning show, but they see the YouTube clip of them being featured on the
It
morning
gives you
show.
that sort of recognition that you're a legit brand, right? Because
Credibility,
you're working, yeah, credibility, exactly. So, say Nike sponsored you for something, you automatically get that. That's the biggest company in the world, one of the biggest sportswear companies in the world. You're sponsored by them. All of a sudden, people go, "Oh yeah, these guys are legit." That sort of thing.
100%. Thanks for your time. I'll bump into you on the daycare trip.
Yeah.
Again, soon. But if anybody wants, let's say, number one, you want to get on board with us. I mean, obviously there's big things in store for Ben with the Eternal MMA and, with the UFC Fight Pass, the exposure. So, I mean, if you're a potential sponsor or a school owner and you've got fighters that you want on board, how can people get hold of you and have a chat to see if it's mutually beneficial?
Best bet is probably just the email. So my email would be Ben, B-E-N, at eternalmma.com. Yeah, hit me up on an email, even if it's just like, I love to support and advise as well. So if anyone's got any questions, you wanted to start a fight promotion or gym related stuff, I'm more than happy to sort of, I believe that sharing is what helps everyone achieve. And like, I am very much in lifting people up. So yeah, I'm happy to offer any assistance that I can. And yeah, if anyone's interested in jumping on board or talking about some options, then yeah, I'm definitely all ears.
Yeah, perfect. And if you've listened to the show and you've enjoyed it and you got some value, especially out of the fight promotions and things like that, just shoot Ben an email and just say, love the podcast, and give some feedback.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Awesome, Ben. Well, thanks for being on the show, and I'll probably see you in a couple of days down the road.
Yeah, maybe tonight when we pick the kids up.
Yeah, true.
All right, mate. You take it easy. Thanks for your time.
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in. Was it helpful? Did you get something of good value for your martial arts business? Then please do me a favor and let us know. Leave us a comment wherever you watched or listened to this, or just head over to iTunes and just leave us an awesome review. That way we'll know that we are on the right track, and we'll keep bringing you great shows with great interviews, sharing great strategies and tips. So if you haven't yet, now's a good time to head over to our group, martialartsmedia.group. That's the Martial Arts Media business community. I'll see you in the group, and I will see you on the next show.